Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm Peter Goldstein, founder and Chief Synergy Officer with WeDIDit.Health, where our mission is to empower grassroots ambassadors to be more effective, inspiring hope and curiosity in our friends and loved ones. So if you'd like to see the vegan and plant-based movement grow, then we probably have some tips and support for you here. So join us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. And with that, I have with me my good friend and teammate here, Trevor Banerjee. Hello, Trevor.
Hello, hi Peter, and thank you everyone for having me here. And yeah, I look forward to having a really enjoyable conversation with you, Peter, as always. With regards to all things effective communication, around thriving and inspiring, around being the best version of ourselves, so that uh, we can trigger hope and curiosity in the world, and all that sort of good stuff.
All that good stuff. Yes. Yes, and we're so glad that you're joining us. And of course, I can't keep it a secret. We have a phenomenal holiday season coming up with the Thrive and Inspire Through the Holidays, and we'll be telling you more about that. And please leave your comments and your questions and suggestions and thoughts. We would love to hear from you. Uh, so we're talking about the importance of community and interpersonal communications, right,
Yeah.
Trevor?
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's so interesting, Peter, that we live in a world, and, we've spoken about this in the past as well, but I find it fascinating that we live in a world where communicating with one another has never been easier. There used to be a time where we would have to go. I remember when I was in India as a student, I would have to go to this thing called an IS, international calling booth or something like that. And I would have to go and pay by the minute for making a call to my parents who lived overseas. Right. And the same thing the other way, where when they called, they could call home, but they would have to, do it from some means. So that was within my lifetime. That was just 20 years ago. Now I can video call my mom while I'm cycling or driving and show her, flip the video and show her where I am. That's the world that we live in. However, in this world of incredible technology and ability to communicate with each other on various platforms, using various means, I feel that we've never been more disconnected. I
Yes.
find that um, people that I used to stay in contact with constantly, now we hardly speak, maybe once a month or so, or even less than that. Um, and I wonder sometimes, why is that? And it's because we're inundated. We have a lot more going on, and our brain is trying to decipher what we need to focus on, right? So we're left with options that give us most amount of pleasure with the least amount of effort, right? Just flip on social media and start scrolling, or just switch on, things like Netflix, and then just start scrolling and watching stuff, or YouTube. So in the midst of all of that, where does a business succeed? How does a business work? And especially when a business is doing something where it's trying to provide a service, or provide value to people in the form of a service. So I think effective communication is the most critical element within not just our personal lives, but also within business. Because the sooner we learn how to do this, the sooner we learn how to have people unplug from all of this excessive consumption of candy floss, and start reconnecting with what is real. I think the sooner we're going to start seeing a gradual change take place in the world, and this is the change that we are so passionate about at WeDIDit.Health.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for that, Trevor. And I want to add that uh, yeah, so we really want to communicate. So we who are heart centered and compassionate, and we care about the animals and the climate, and we care about our friends and loved ones,
Yeah.
and people's health and people thriving. We so need to communicate that, because it's so frustrating to be disconnected. So frustrating to watch somebody we care about do damage to animals and the climate and their own health. So
Yeah.
this communications is so important for us to figure out how to be more effective. Because for me, it's mind-boggling for me that here we are, so deep into the vegan and plant-based truths. So it's been over 75 years since the word vegan was coined, and it's been 75 years that we've been talking about, doctors have known about a plant-based diet for health. Over 75 years, yet, well, we only have a couple percent of the world be vegan and or plant-based, way less than plant-based folks are fewer in numbers than vegans. But it's
Sure.
just mind-boggling. How is it that we have this amazing absolute truth, the truth that can turn around climate change, the truth that can turn around our health and animal suffering, and yet only a couple percent of the people in the world know about it? So what is it that we need to do to communicate better, to inspire hope and curiosity in the people that we spend time with and we run across? And so, yeah, communication is so key for all this, right, Trevor?
So absolutely, it absolutely is. It is the key. And when you think about it, one aspect is communication, and I think our solution is in the title of today's episode, which is community. Something that you and I have uncovered is a fantastic way to get people to learn more effectively, to get people within our community to understand what it is that they're experiencing and to balance their emotions. An effective way for people to collect resources that they will find useful for themselves as well as for the people that they serve is through community. So I am really, really passionate right now about, and I've thrown myself into understanding and learning how can we build a community that can really, how can we build a community that can really be supportive to all of its members and that can provide all of these various elements, the resources, the ability to connect, the ability to learn. I think that that's the key. And for anyone who's out there thinking about starting a business, thinking about they want to do something that's unique or different, I'm telling you that from what I've seen as a business coach, as well as with what we're doing right now at WeDIDit.Health, community building is the way to go. It is the way of the future.
Absolutely, it's the tenet of most models for wellness. So we did it that health. Our tagline is for the health of everything. So, and community is absolutely part of it. So most models, whether it's Dr. Ornish or just across the board, everybody recognizes the importance of community, the importance of not being alone, the importance of connecting with like-minded people, the importance of being able to share ideas and get support for common challenges and for individual challenges that others have experienced.
Yeah. So, and then something that keeps coming up for us is, okay, fine. So we're talking about building a community. So what goes into building a successful community, especially specifically because that's a vast topic, but specifically when it comes to effective communication. So, Peter, what would you say? What, according to you, so far from what you've experienced with this community, wonderful community that we're building at WeDIDit.Health, what is it that you think needs to happen so that people can develop develop their communication skills within this community atmosphere?
Well, of course, what comes to mind for me immediately is having experts to learn from. So, certainly at the foundation of We Did It Health, we have Dr. Angela Crawford, who has so brilliantly put together our free ebook, Seven Best Practices to Inspire Friends and Loved Ones, and that's the a fundamental guide with seven points of what to do, like listen and don't be pushy and meet people where they are. So the kinds of things that you would think is common sense and common knowledge, but I think we need to refocus to that and say, well, this is important, and let's practice it. So learning from experts, and now we're really thrilled and happy to uh, have Claire Mann working with us, and she has designed an amazing program that will be featuring in our Thrive and Inspire Through the Holidays Festival,
Mm.
and an opportunity to learn and practice those skills that we need as we meet our friends and loved ones and families for the holidays and for the holiday events, and putting up with the stresses of the things that we don't want to see happening. But it's about learning from the experts, and then second, what comes up for me is practice. So having an opportunity to learn and practice. We don't really learn something until we do it.
Mm.
So that certainly is part of our upcoming festival, and central to all our work. So when you're with us at We Did It.Health and you participate in our programming, then we always make sure that role play is available, so that we don't just hear an expert say, well, here's something that our research shows or whatever, that this is what works, but to actually feel it, experience it, practice it, get comfortable with it, get confident with it, so we can walk into the stressful situations and show up with that confidence, and show up where naturally we can communicate, rather than get frustrated and stressed out.
Absolutely, yeah. So, on that note, Peter, I've got a nice little, five-step or five-tip presentation that I'd like to give as a gift to the people watching this session right now, and five things you can do right away to be more effective with your communication. Okay, so the first thing we've got to ask ourselves is, why why should I join a community like We Did It.Health, and what's in it for me when it comes to something like a Thrive and Inspire festival that you mentioned, right? So what we've got to understand is, we as vegans and plant-based proponents, or people living a plant-based lifestyle, tend to have certain challenges that most people don't, right? So things like having to deal with what Claire Mann has coined dystopia, having to live in a world that seems so unjust and unfair, and the people that you love the most practice all of these things that you are now aware of, is so cruel, but you've got to be okay with it. So that is something that is very unique, that please let us know in the comments, and in the chat, if that's something that it resonates with you, where it's frustrating, it's saddening, it sometimes it's disheartening, and sometimes in serious cases it's depressing, where we don't know how to deal with these emotions that come up, right? Peter, is that a point that you want to just talk about?
Absolutely, and so there's a big point, I guess, since communications is our top topic today, but it's hard to communicate if we're not grounded ourselves emotionally. So that's a really important point. So being able to be in a situation that wouldn't be friendly, that's actually downright triggering, being in a triggering situation and not getting triggered, being able to stay calm, being able to stay grounded, being able to still show up and be resourceful enough to have the conversation, to be able to to make a to make a point and to make one that the other person would welcome. Because
Yeah.
certainly one of the things here is that we don't want to be pushing people away. We don't want to get into arguments and fights, and that's just so counterproductive.
So, Peter, you've jumped the gun a little bit, and so the first step of this is understanding the emotional journey and the roller coaster that you are going through, and accepting it, acknowledging it, recognizing that, you know what, I am going through something interesting and unique. I am going through these stages of grief, and A, becoming aware of it, B, being able to then be able to share that and express that with people that you trust, and people who probably understand what you're going through and might be going through it as well. So, the first step or tip that I would like to share with all of you is understanding and acknowledging the emotions that you're going through as a vegan, as somebody who's made an ethical lifestyle choice that doesn't resonate with the people around you. So, and what Peter's saying is so critical and so important, but that's the next step. The next one is then knowing, how do I then communicate this message with the people around me, but only when I'm ready. Because if I'm angry, if I'm frustrated, and if I'm in that energetic state, if somebody does come to me and say, "Oh, so well, I heard you've gone vegan. Why did you do that?" Our state is going to dictate our response, and that's not going to be the best thing the best outcome for the planet and for the animals. The things that you care about the most. So, so absolutely. Moving on to the next point, it is about learning how to then communicate your point in the most effective manner. Um, yeah, Peter, you wanted to say something on that point?
Well, I'd be happy to. I'm happy to say things all the time. Yes. So, yes. And what comes up for me is the importance of having the resources, the importance of knowing what to say, the importance of being able to field objections, to have good answers to the objections, have great questions to ask them, so that it maybe helps them shift a little bit. Because really, at the end of the day, we're really not working against things. We're trying to do is get people to uncover their own heart, their own compassion, their own passion for justice. So we know that we're talking with people who someplace are can find that compassion. Maybe people who love their puppies, but they don't realize that eating veal is like eating a puppy, eating a baby cow. So, but once they understand that, then we can touch that compassion, we can touch that justice
Yeah.
in them.
Yeah, and you've touched on point number three in your points, which is staying informed and being educated. So very often what happens is, see, knowledge is power, right? So very often what happens is we want to say so much, we want to express ourselves, but because someone's put us in the spot. For example, I remember the first time, this was about 10 years ago, when went vegan, and one of my friends said, oh, well, plants, recent research has shown that plants feel pain as well. And in my mind, I know that that's nonsense. I know that that's a ridiculous thing to say. You're equating cutting a tomato with cutting, an animal's throat. But because I wasn't well informed in that moment, all I could do was just get flustered, right? And say, well, and with that energy, I was the one who was losing the argument. Yeah, and this isn't a win-lose game, because these debates never really pan out that way. But it is about making sure that you plant the right seeds, and the best way you can do that is when you're composed and when you're well informed, so you know the right things to say, right? And then that comes to point number 4, which is around how well can you balance out your emotion and emotional state. And just to let so that we're clear, point number 5 is respecting and having expectation management, so that you know the importance of simply planting a seed. Very often, and we spoke about this last week as well, very often we are so passionate about something. It's like when you tell somebody, when you tell someone a joke, right? You want them to laugh right away. You don't want them to say, hey, let me think about it. And then an hour later message you and say, oh, haha, I got it now, right? So when we share, we're constantly looking for instant gratification. We want people to say, oh my God, that's amazing. If I watch a really amazing movie and if I share that with you, my mind is waiting for you to say, oh wow, was that really that good? I think I'm going to watch it this weekend, and that'll make me feel good. And then I'm going to be like, oh, I wonder if he liked it or not. Right? Because that's how we're programmed. That's how we want that sort of gratification. And I'm sure there's a psychological term for it. But that doesn't work when it comes to being an effective activist, especially for veganism, because it is a very complex, touchy subject. There is a lot that's associated with what we consider as food. So when we speak to somebody, if I speak to, for example, in my culture, in my community, which is Goa in India, people eat a lot of pork, aka pig, right? Now, when I speak to my friends or my family from that community, and I speak to them about things like which seems so logical. A friend of mine has a dog, and I would say something like, "Well, watch this video on how there's a pig and a dog, and they both are following um, the same instructions. Sit, turn, fetch. They're both doing the same things. In fact, the pig, in some instances, is smarter than the dog, right? So watching that video is sending signals to their brain. Oh my gosh, this is making a lot of sense intellectually. But emotionally, that individual has grown up with a lot of emotional attachment to certain meals that have that same animal's flesh in it. But they're not looking at it like that. They're looking at it as, oh, my mom shows me her love by preparing this meal for me, right? So subconsciously, they've got to ask themselves the question. It's not happening consciously, it's happening subconsciously. Am I willing to let go of that beautiful relationship that I have with my mother through this meal, because my mind is telling me that this isn't right? And that's where we get stuck. That's where most of us get stuck. So what we can do in that moment is not say, no, your relationship with your mom is not more important than this life of this animal. No, we can't do that. All we can do is say, well, you know what? Here are the facts. Take it and do with it what you will. And if you're open to it, can I share more of this information with you? Can I share information about how some of these things that we consider call food is carcinogenic? Can I share information with you on how consuming these things is really bad for other aspects of your diet, like your weight and diabetes and blood pressure, things that you say that you've got in your family, right? So, and when they say yes, beautiful. We're planting seeds, we're sharing this information bit by bit, and the next thing you know, one of them's going to turn around and say, hey, you know what? I spoke to my mom and I said, hey, can we replace that with soya? And she said, yeah, that's fine. We still have that relationship, you know?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Trevor, I love what you laid out here, and I totally get it. And these 5 steps are so critical. And so I'm visualizing how that's really our mission is to and a new way of framing it is to actually train the effective, proactive ambassadors. So it because it will take training. It takes us to practice it. It takes us to understand where the other person is. It takes us to be prepared because that is, I think that is what it's going to take to really change this world. And that's the piece that's missing, is that there's we have been wrong in expecting that we can show somebody this fact that we know and we're so passionate about. We can show them just one thing and they'll immediately change their lives, because really what we're all up against is deep family based programming, deep cultural programming, deep, huge cultural powers and what influences. So we have all these powerful influences. So the expectations is really important. So I totally see it, and I think that's what we're about. Is we're first of all we're a laboratory to figure all this out, to and which this conversation I guess has really moved that forward, is getting a little more clarity on what it is that we're up against. And so understanding what we're up against, understanding what the different strategies are, because like you're saying, there are different situations. I mean, we can run into somebody who you just show them one fact and they light up and they get it. And there may be somebody else who needs a lot of support and but anyway you look at it, we ourselves as ambassadors need to understand where the other person is and meet them where they are, and we need to be able to communicate in a calm and an inspiring way. We need to inspire them to become curious, so they too want to would want to explore it. And because it really is a monumental thing, it's not a simple decision. We're up against so much conditioning and so many powerful governmental and corporate and cultural pressures.
Yeah, Peter, the odds are completely against us. Let's be honest here, right? Let's be frank. Yeah, let's say it as it is.
I won't buy that. They're not
Well,
completely against us.
all
I
right,
think
okay.
I think we're running a marathon with it. So you're not going to say a marathon is really a long race, so I'm not going to start it.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. But it is uphill. There are a
It is
lot of
uphill.
miles, yeah, and a lot of miles to run. The weather isn't favorable, right? So when I say that the odds are against us, I'm not saying that it's not something that we endeavor. Absolutely, we must do it. If anything, this is our responsibility. However, we must learn to, and sticking with that, reframing point number 5, we must learn how our expectations need to we need to look at it as a marathon. Because if we go into conversations, if we go into meetings as, oh wow, I do this and people sign up with me straight away. By the way, people do this in marketing, in business as well. They think, oh, I put up a couple of social media posts. Where are my clients? And the reality is, it's consistent quality content that when you put out is what you're going to get, is when you're going to get the results. So it's the same thing with your um, advocacy and with your communication. It's going to be effective when, firstly, you practice what you preach, right? It's not going to make sense if you yourself are unhealthy and tired because you haven't slept properly, and you don't present yourself in the best possible manner. But then you're over there speaking about, hey, did you know that veganism, if you switch to veganism, it really does wonders to your energy levels. Don't look at me, because I was just up last night, watching it. But check out veganism. So the first thing is, we need to become the role model, the ambassadors of what it is that we are propagating, right? And then the next is, we need to learn all of these skills. We need to be able to practice, all these communication tools and techniques. And that's the reason why. And I know I constantly keep plugging what we're doing, but I can't help it, because we're creating something so incredible. It's this dojo, or this gym, or this workshop, this space where people can come in. They Whenever they want, they can connect with like-minded people and practice these skills, have these courses and these programs led and run by incredible facilitators, to then take that knowledge and then apply it, and then go out there in the world and then implement it. I think is just such an incredible opportunity.
Absolutely. And we are also passionate about seeing the change in the world. And it's time that we start looking at strategies that include communications, that include our own emotional well-being, that
Yeah,
that has the conversations, because we have it hasn't worked with having 2, 3, 4% of the world population be vegan after 75 years. It reminds me of this truth that I see quoted every so often, and sometimes I see it attributed to Einstein. I have no idea if he's the one who said it, but something along the lines of, if we keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect different outcomes, that's the definition of madness. So it's really time to look at a different approach that includes our communication skills, our advocacy. How do we advocate in a way that we're heard, in a way that people feel connected, in a way that we don't jeopardize our relationships, in a way that all those relationships that are so important to us, with our families, with our friends, all those really critical and important relationships, we can nurture them, and we can grow them. And it doesn't have to be either vegan or have our friends and family. I believe that we can really have both.
yes, 100%. And it doesn't have to be only my vegan community and only my handpicked vegan friends who think this exactly the same as me, right? And all other
Right.
human beings are evil, and I find them despicable, etc. No, they're not, because you were there just a few years ago, right? If every vegan thought that way, then you wouldn't have got the information that you did. My favorite quote, and I think I've come up with this, Peter. I don't. I need to pinpoint it or something. But the favorite thing to say to vegans is, be the vegan that you would have had liked to meet before you go vegan, right? So whatever the methodology was, if the methodology was direct and in your face, and if it was like, hey, look at these animals, look at them in these gas chambers and da da da, and if that was what got you over the line, do that, right? But if you saw that and it didn't work for you, but for me, Peter, a softer, more like a inquisition approach really worked. I had my friend, I remember he was vegan, and I remember asking him, "What's that? What is that? I've heard of being vegetarian." He's like, "Oh, I don't eat anything, from that comes from an animal." And I said, "Okay, but you've got all of these muscles, and you're so energetic, and you're in fact you've got hyper energy." And he says, he says, "Well, you get all of the energy and whatever you need from plants." That was enough for me to start getting inquisitive, because that was what I was looking for. So yeah. So the 5 points once again for anyone who's interested, and this is something that we're going to get into much more detail during the Thrive and Inspire Festival. Is number one, knowing yourself, becoming aware of your emotions. Number two, then learning to um, plant the seeds and have conversations with friends and loved ones in a way that is inquisitive, that generates curiosity, as opposed to the way you're talking to or telling them stuff. Three is just basically keeping yourself well informed, making sure that you have all of the resources that you need so that you're educated and you're on top of your game. Four is knowing how to create the right communities, how to practice and do everything that is required to be prepared. And then, of course, five is to have the right expectations. So once you've got these things in place, you're going to find that you will flourish. You will be in peak state from a mental, physical, emotional, spiritual standpoint. And you'll also be in the best position to have these conversations with people. And even if not, just being an ambassador, walking down the street. My mom's been listening to my advice. She hasn't gone vegan completely, but she definitely has increased her intake of fruits and veggies. And she went to this, it's a dance event that takes place in India at this time of the year. Okay, it's a festival where everybody dances in a circle. And my mom's 70, 73 now, 73, 74. And she was going at it, and she was like sweating and she's dancing, and everyone's like, wow, how are you doing this? There's people half her age who are like panting, and they're like, I need to take a break. But that's the thing. This is the beauty. So, when you become an embodiment of this lifestyle, it is in itself, in a way, enough without you having to learn effective communication. But the effective communication definitely becomes much more useful.
Absolutely. Yes, and thank you for all that, Trevor. Yes, the effective communications. You made a point just a little bit ago about knowing all the facts to share all the information, and actually, it feels to me like that's kind of a huge expectation for ourselves. But part of what we're doing at We Did It That Health, and we're building the community there, is to feature resources, because to be able to have the resources, especially if let's say you're vegan for animal compassion, there may be a lot of health facts that you might not have at your fingertips. So it's
Yeah.
awesome that you can talk about animal compassion, but what if you're looking at your uncle who's diabetic and obese? You know, it would be nice to be able to have the resources. It would be nice to be able to say to somebody, you know what, I think there's a lot of information on that. Let me be your guide. Let me go help you find it. Let me show you how you can be healthier. So
Yes.
having information, having at least knowing that it's available, and then of course our mission and one of our goals is to curate that information. So it makes it really easy to find and really easy to share.
Yes, 100%. So I think this is a great a moment to just let people know, first of all, WeDIDit.Health. Please check it out. If you're watching this, just jump on. You can join the platform for free. What is this platform? It's a community for vegans and plant-based people from all over the world who really want to get better, to improve their ability to be able to be, to inspire hope and curiosity amongst their friends and loved ones. So when you go into the platform, you'll be able to see that you can log in. And when you go in, there's a wealth of stuff waiting there for you. There's the ability to connect with other like-minded people all over the world. You can join groups that we call passion pods, and they're on various topics from health to um, a age. And what's the one? It's got a really nice name. The one which is to do with aging healthily,
Whole retirement, I think.
something like that.
Yes.
And there's courses, especially a certification course on you becoming an ambassador and being able to communicate more effectively. And of course, we've got these weekly events that take place. And those events, an example of that is a 3-month long event that's going to start next month, and that's called the Thrive and Inspire Festival. This is for all of you out there who feel lonely, feel a bit dejected, feel frustrated during the holiday season. It's a great opportunity for you to join, because what you're going to learn is a specially designed course for you so that you are able to work on yourself as well as work on your effective communication skills. The second thing that you're going to get is a unique closed group of people who are going to join that course as well, and everyone's going to get to practice with one another. The third is we're going to have, it's called a festival for a reason, because we're going to have all of these incredible events like dancing, singing, laughter yoga, ecstatic healing, somatic healing, all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things, and experts from all over the world. And if all of that wasn't enough, we've got the ability for you to then be able to go through the course and go through all of the other resources on the platform, and then practice whatever you learn with the world out there, and then come and come like excited kids and share with us, oh my god, I spoke to my uncle and guess what, he's decided to take my advice. So things like that. We're so happy and to be putting this festival together, because the way we look at it is, if we have 100 people that join the festival, and if one of them is able to transform one life out there or save a life through the information that we share, I think that that would be a job well done, right? It would be worth all of this blood, sweat, and tears that we've put into the festival. What do you say, Peter?
Well, I say that just having just one is probably unrealistic, because I think that once we do this, we can't help but have a lot more than just one. So once we can do this, once we can all get into a place where we're, instead of the frustration that we're witnessing so much suffering on all sides, instead of all that frustration, we can start having the satisfaction of inspiring other people's lives. And I think I know that it's a matter of time. Maybe this wouldn't happen today or tomorrow, but in the near future, if somebody dedicates themselves to tweaking our abilities, our skills, our knowledge base, then it must happen, because what we're really representing here, what we're really about, is something that I call an absolute truth. It's an absolute truth that we eat plant-based or vegan, we save a lot of animal suffering. There's just no doubt about it. There's tons and tons of research and evidence that we eat plant-based and our health gets better. There's lots of evidence that if we stop deforesting for the sake of growing food for animals, the planet will get healthier. I mean, there is no dispute about it. It's an absolute truth. Just because so many people don't know it, that doesn't mean it's not the truth. So we're representing an absolute truth. We're coming to something that we're so deeply passionate about. And there is just no way that we won't inspire numerous people all around us. Just give us a little time, just plant seeds, and it's not an overnight thing. So
Yeah.
keep planting seeds, and then celebrate their germination, because they will germinate. Maybe not all of them, maybe just a few of them, but we plant lots of seeds, and the numbers are that, all of us out there planting seeds, people will see seeds from multiple sources. People will start looking at it, and we'll change the world together.
Beautiful. Well said, Peter. On that note, anyone out there, if you've got any questions, please reach out to us on WeDIDit.Health. You'll be able to connect with us directly in the platform. Yeah, and we'd love to get your thoughts. Anything that anyone wants to comment? I've been just looking at some of the comments here, and
Yeah.
I've got Asha, who was on LinkedIn, and she's really agreeing with some of the things that we're saying. So thank you so much, Asha, for commenting. And she finds it absolutely frustrating when they try and justify things. Here's another comment there. Uh, oh yeah, so I think you've allowed for the comments to just come through, right, Peter?
Well, I'm actually controlling it. So
Oh,
here's one.
leave us
And let's see if we can say something about this. Non-believers are part of the vegan movement as well. How do we, as secular people, be a part of the movement? So I I'm a little bit confused. If you could explain what you mean by us secular people. Trevor, do you understand what this Facebook user means by us secular people?
Yeah, I think they may be speaking from a religious point of view. Maybe they're talking about like non-believers, people who don't follow any particular religion, maybe. And I would love for them to clarify. But from if I were to answer this just based on what I understand, I would say that the beauty about something being a universal truth is it surpasses all forms of religion, all forms of culture, right? So when someone like Galileo, Copernicus, or when they were telling the powers that be at that time that, hey, you know what, the world actually doesn't, the sun doesn't revolve around the earth, and the earth isn't flat, it's actually round, and then we revolve around the sun. That is a truth. That is an universal truth. Okay, here's the answer. I'm an atheist. The spirituality part of the vegan message is off-putting to me. Okay, yeah, no, I absolutely get that. So what I would say is the the for me, I'm by the way, I'm agnostic as well. I don't follow any religion per se. What I do love about veganism is that you're speaking absolute facts. The fact that we take an animal's life without against their will has nothing to do with religion. The fact that we are out there, bringing down acres and acres of forest, which has all of this wildlife, just so that we can create, um, you know, spaces to grow crops like soy and corn to then feed animals. Nothing to do with religion. These are facts, and that's what we have on our side. In fact, on the flip side, it's usually religion that is being used as a justification for not going vegan. I know that my family are Catholic, and very often they'll give me explanations and reasons on what the Bible says. So it's actually be, um, being vegan is actually one of the most secular things that we can do. I hope that that makes sense, and I hope that that resonates with you. I don't can't see what your name is, unfortunately. Peter, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to know where this Facebook user got the impression that this has anything to do with religion. I'm personally not a religious person, and our work is across all passions, all interest groups, and I know people who are in fact religious, and they like to bring it to their church and places of worship. But I don't know that most of us are religious, and I don't see where religion is focus for any of this. This is across
Yeah.
all cultures, people from all cultures, from all beliefs, from all perspectives in life. We come together as vegans, and it doesn't have to be. It certainly isn't a religious thing.
Yes,
So
absolutely. If on the just to touch on the point of being spiritual, um, yeah, I would say that I'm spiritual, but when I say I'm spiritual, I don't. That doesn't mean that I believe that there is a man in the clouds, watching whether I'm doing the right things or the wrong things. Spirituality for me is self-inquisition. It's about becoming self-aware. It's about asking myself questions that I most of us tend to avoid, and it's about constantly trying to get as close to the truth as possible. So, for anyone out there who is agnostic or atheist, but wants to live a good, true, pure life, yeah, I've got okay. Veganism is inextricably tied to spirituality. We might say conspirituality, where the health community becomes just scientifically wrong. Okay, well, there may be some people who tend to focus on the spiritual aspects of this. I haven't heard of this. Usually, we're constantly speaking about facts like look at the blood work of a vegan person versus the blood work of somebody who eats a predominantly meat and dairy diet, or look at the number of animals that are killed, look at the stats or the amount of food that is required to feed these animals, and forests being grazed and so on. So, yeah,
yeah.
we may have to take that point outside of this chat, but I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious to understand
Well,
how is it inextricably tied, right, Peter?
yeah, I am too, and for me, I initially came to this from the human health perspective, from the whole food plant-based perspective, and I need to say that uh, scientifically wrong. I mean, the whole food plant-based doctors, scientifically, medically, peer-reviewed, scientifically correct extensive scientific studies are showing that the standard Western medicine thinking is wrong. So, for instance, it is shown by the doctors who are leading the plant-based movement. They've shown, for example, that what's behind diabetes is really oil and fat that's clogging the insulin receptors in our cells. So there's a lot of knowledge, considered knowledge. There's a lot of stuff in the Western medicine standard procedures that the doctors that lead this truth, this research, this work, they have proven it. And as examples, I mean, check out nutritionfacts.org with Dr. Greger, and he's repeatedly reviewing the studies that are showing what our bodies really need, and how so much of what the common thinking amongst most doctors is really scientifically incorrect.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
anyway, so
not.
yeah.
Yeah, and so
So
yes, like you said, Trevor, I too would be more than happy to take this, continue this conversation, and and certainly we're here to inspire. We're not here to argue with anybody, and certainly want to practice what we find to be best practices. But really happy to have that conversation. And Facebook user, I so appreciate that you're part of this conversation, and so appreciate your comments. So appreciate you taking the time, and clearly you care, and you're compassionate, and we love you being part of this work, and this is who we are. So you're such a beautiful example of this. We are a community of people who come from various perspectives, and we're all getting together so we can learn from each other and teach each other. So thank you so very much for being part of it.
yes, absolutely. And thank you, Peter, for for initiating this, for being the mastermind behind this concept. Thank you for introducing or helping me understand what mastermind actually means, by the way. And yeah, I think we're blessed. We are all blessed to be at the right place at the right time with the right information and the right intent. And that intent is to make a positive impact, as Gandhiji says, to be the change that we wish to see in the world. So with on that note, thank you once again, and to the people behind the scenes like Marakita, who does such a fantastic job. And yeah, we hope to see everybody next week.
Absolutely, and I want to mention there's a few other people who are regular parts of our community. I've noticed that JJ is was with us and commented and said hello, and hello JJ, and thank you for joining us again. And Asha, I don't think I've met you before, but welcome, and thank you for your comments. And anybody else who I missed. I noticed there's some other comments. Not everybody, certainly far from everybody, introduced themselves. Only a couple people did. But oh, here's Peg. Peg is hi, Peg. She's a wonderful member of our community. Peg is a coach, a therapist, a psychotherapist, and she's participated in our community. And we so love having you, Peg, as part of this community, because we really are, first of all, a laboratory. We're trying to figure out how we can all be more effective, and you've helped us in that process and helped us move
Yeah.
along. Um, and so we also have okay, Peg, yes, thank you. And I meant to click also on
Yeah,
Facebook user who says
we-
thank you so much for valuable discussion. Love to you, and thank you. Love right back at you, and really hope to see you. And reach out to us. We have our holiday festival that's starting soon. Please go to WeDIDit.Health and look for the Thrive and Inspire tab on top of the page for our holiday festival, and reach out to us. I'll tell you a secret. We would love to share a coupon with you to get you a discount as our gift for being our friend, and for joining us here today. So please reach out to us on the site or reach out to us in the community. Join our free community at WeDIDit.Health, and there you can message us. And we look forward to seeing you there and seeing you in the Passion Pods. And so that together, our mission is together we're creating a healthy, happy, well-fed vegan world. And I know that's all our personal mission here also. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.